Thanks for joining us once again. We're about to see the newest numbers for Tesla in revenue and profit. And what I'm concerned about in this is that one part of the numbers we're going to find out is Tesla getting the Apple treatment from BYD in England or Britain, however you may want to call it. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show, like some better ideas on investing and trading, please join us on Patreon. So our usual show is approximately 5 minutes, and then we go into implications. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but in the case of Apple invested $55 billion in building a supply chain in China. What then happened is that all of those suppliers that Apple developed ended up providing all of the same parts to competitors, especially Hawaii. And the result was that Apple's market share went from probably 40% in the space down to under 16%. So it was good that they had the supply chain built, but it was really hard on the company because of how competitors were able to leverage what they learned and was built. So I bring this up today because most of the places that BYD is strongest, be it Brazil or some places in Africa, Tesla has chosen not to enter those markets. And as a result, BYD has done very well. So why is this a big deal? Well, BYD has multiple approaches going, but as part of them being part of the Chinese government, they're engaged in a process where the Chinese government is willing to do anything to get more jobs, and more jobs in environments where there are value-added finished products. So in this case, we have a situation going on where one of the few first world countries that BYD is not being hampered by tariffs is Britain, or Great Britain. And so we're going to find out what the numbers were like there, but I think they're going to be down pretty hard for Tesla. The Europeans do have a tariff in place that makes the domestic or European manufacturers competitive, but they have issues much like Tesla does in terms of the growth of BYD. And with the Hungary plant that BYD is soon to finish, that will also impact things. Now, you just asked a great question. What is Apple providing supply chain setup for Hawaii have to do with Tesla's interaction with BYD? The answer is all the suppliers that were trained and developed by Tesla in China now are providing the same dual solutions to BYD and other Chinese competitors. Everything from the factory floor, all the robots being used, you name it, is being replicated by Tesla competitors in China. The result is that it's actually been a bloodbath there. A lot of companies that would have shut down in normal circumstances do not shut down because they have a government unlimited check to stay in business and survive, and at the same time drive potentially other companies' sales down and possibly out of business. So the giant question mark hanging over the entire EV industry is what exactly is going to happen with BYD as it grows, and how does it affect everybody else? The early answer is that the BYD price is at least 30%, if not 50% lower than competitors. And if they turn out to be solid performers, it could be a huge challenge from which a lot of other companies will not recover. So I've decided, as we were looking at BYD today, to include some of the challenges that BYD is having. They have some really interesting business practices that enhance their ability, I believe, to win. For example, what if your cost of goods sold is zero? So BYD has this thing where, unless you're a supplier named Cattle, all their other suppliers, in essence, have a 1-year term before they're paid for supplying. What this has resulted in is sort of a two-pronged process. Number one, vehicles being shipped out of the country get high-quality solutions so that they don't break down in Britain or other places that are foreign. For domestic vehicles, suppliers are sort of cutting corners, and the result is that we're having vehicle fires and other issues that are not being seen by the vehicles that have been shipped, if you will, to non-China customers. So will those vehicles hold up? We don't know, but all you need is several explosions, let's say in Britain where there's a lot of sales, to have BYD's sales slow down. From what I've seen, and I would love to hear from you guys what you're seeing in your respective areas where people are buying not just BYD, but other Chinese products. It'd be interesting to see what you're finding. As you also know, Geely owns Volvo, and their other, Jaguar is also owned by a Chinese company. There are a number of companies that are all, if you will, China aligned, and they have an opportunity to bring sort of EV solutions that are very low cost. So the concern I have, what I'm wondering about is, not only do we have Tesla sales dipping, but now you have the challenge of extremely low prices driven by sort of dumping, where there are Chinese companies that aren't paying their suppliers, so their production cost is at least raw materials cost is somewhere around zero for the next year, and they're trying to stay alive, so they're not going to pay their bills anytime soon. But the net result is potentially a lot of hurt for the companies that are in business like Tesla that need to make a profit to impress shareholders. The other final note I wanted to make on this is, do you notice that the Tesla Semi has not been introduced in China or sold to any Chinese entities? I think this is very interesting because it does keep the solutions that they've developed for the Semi out of the hands of the Chinese, which I think is a really smart move by Elon and Tesla. So I wanted to encourage you to think through this, and we look forward to your input. Next, I'd like to review our health note. I actually had a doctor make a comment to me that if you lift weights 3 times a week, you'll outlive everybody you know. So that's the health tip that I wanted to suggest to you today. The more muscle you build, it sets your body up for longevity, and it doesn't have to be big muscles, just maintenance lifting, high reps, low weight. Once again, we want to thank you for joining us. Good luck on your Tesla investing. It will be wild over the next few days as we get the production numbers and we find out how well things are working in Austin. And hopefully it's working well and the stock price continues to rise. Once again, thanks for joining us. Just au revoir, lahit road, hodai fatrasidu, nihama, namaste. And in Jamaica we say enough respect, walk good. Thanks and have a great day, and bye for now.